Fox 61, Connecticut's news station, starts with a weather impact alert.
Rain is falling down hard as we come on the air tonight. Thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Bridget Bjorla. We're in a weather impact right now, so let's take a live look at the rain coming down. You're taking a look at East Hartford, Waterbury, and Bridgeport. We're not expecting any flooding or damage tonight, but definitely some annoyance for those driving. As you can see there, getting some relief under those bridges in Waterbury, but it's going to be a slick drive home.
All right, so let's hand things over to Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank for a first check of the forecast. Rach, what should people expect with the rain showers tonight?
I think some big puddles will be out there as you're driving around. We'll have to keep a close eye on basements, although luckily we're not expecting any river flooding. And the heaviest rain is now coming down in western Connecticut, and we'll see those downpours overspread the state and be around until about midnight tonight. So make sure you've got the umbrella if you have any plans, maybe some extra time, as there again will be some puddles out there, so maybe a slower drive, and secure any loose objects. While we're not expecting enough for any significant outages, we still could see gusts up around 45 miles an hour, and that's enough to kind of blow things around. Noticing Danbury, Newtown, Monroe, much of Fairfield County lit up with that heavy rain showing up from New Milford all the way through Warren, and now in Canaan as well. Back in Hartford, we are seeing areas of light rain. It's not too bad right now in areas like Old Saybrook and Colchester, but again, those heavier downpours will slowly be parading through the remainder of the state. And you can see just how large this system is and affecting so many. Look at these temperatures. We're in the 50s still across much of the state. And here's a look at those winds gusting close to 30 miles an hour. We'll talk about the improvement for tomorrow and when temperatures cool down. Full forecast coming up.
Rachel, thank you. Developing news in Tolland tonight. The public school district went into lockdown this afternoon. And police stress it was a precautionary lockdown. There was no immediate crisis. The district superintendent, Walter Willett, says a concerning statement was made by a student, and the lockdown was engaged out of an abundance of caution. Police, fire safety personnel, and school staff are currently on scene as a protective measure, and we'll update you as we learn more.
New developments: a Connecticut cold case solved after a quarter of a century. DNA evidence has confirmed that a woman living in Mexico was kidnapped from New Haven back in 1999. Now, this is what Andrea Michelle Reyes looked like when she was just 23 months old. Police say her mother, who did not have custody, broke into her father's home and took her. 25 years later, New Haven police say a forensic lab in Texas finally cracked the case. Police say Reyes was taken to Puebla, Mexico. So let's put up a map on the screen to show you just how far that is from New Haven. Her father had searched for his little girl for years, but no luck. He never heard from his daughter until recently, when New Haven police relaunched an investigation in 2023. A sample of Reyes' DNA was compared to her father's, and turns out it was a match. Police say Reyes still lives in Mexico today, now as a 27-year-old woman. There's still a lot of questions tonight about what development led police to reopen the case and whether Reyes' mother will face any charges for the abduction. New Haven police will be holding a press conference on this very case next Wednesday, and we'll of course be following it here on Fox 61.
If you've ever gone out to dinner on a weekend night, I should say, here in Connecticut, this next story could come as a shock to you. Some people are saying our state has too much parking.
Okay, well, they say strict town zoning laws are to blame for this. Fox 61's Jamel Johnson spoke with people on both sides of this debate.
When you go to the store or go to work or to get a cup of coffee, the first thought is to drive. But that means there needs to be enough parking for you and everyone else going to that same location. That's why a group of advocates is looking to reprogram how we get from point A to point B. Most people use cars to get around. Nick Cantor, director at Desegregate CT, says this creates a conflict in some communities.
Some of them say if you want to open up a restaurant, you need to have X number of parking. And the only way to achieve that is to bulldoze something, pave over a park.
These parking mandates are why Cantor and other parking reform advocates like Pete Harrison say spaces are underutilized.
I live in Simsbury. There are state-owned parking lots, surface parking lots downtown. Maybe once a year, they get filled, but the rest of the time it's virtually empty. Even on Black Friday, the peak shopping period, it's still not being used fully. And that's lost space for jobs and housing and businesses.
To combat this, they want towns to eliminate these mandates and promote more public transportation and walkable destinations.
What if we build more jobs and more homes around the bus station and the train station and encourage more folks to use that first?
They say this could also help people save money.
In Connecticut, it's one of the more expensive states to have a car. It can cost up to $10,000 a year for a car. So if you're a low-wage worker getting around, it's a real challenge.
Brian Roberts, who primarily uses his car, likes the idea of more parking.
Parking's like a free food, you know, you can never have enough of it. Those that have just built for the sake of building really seem to lack parking.
Still, Roberts says he's open to using public transportation if it's done right.
You see in New York City with the congestion pricing, things like that. Public transportation is a nice alternative, but it needs to be available and reliable.
Cantor and Harrison tell me, oh wait, hold on. Cantor and Harrison tell me that lawmakers are considering legislation that would ban parking minimums. They don't know if it will pass, but they say they just want to spark the conversation that they say would otherwise be ignored. In West Hartford, Jamel Johnson, Fox 61.
Thanks, Jamel. A paraprofessional at Bristol High School is accused of having child sex abuse materials.
That person now behind bars and no longer employed at the school. For a deeper look at this story, here's Fox 61's Kayla Cade.
Bristol police say 25-year-old Jacob Sinek was in possession of videos depicting minors in sexually explicit conduct. We spoke with some people in the city about the case.
They'll do what they can to get him out of there and just put people there that are actually there for the children.
Keith Williams says he was shocked to hear what was happening inside his community.
It's just disturbing in a sense.
Jacob Sinek, a paraprofessional at Destinations Academy, was arrested Tuesday on child sex abuse material charges.
It's just really disheartening because, you look to our community leaders to really just be a pillar or a beacon of hope, especially for our children, especially in a tumultuous time now.
Williams isn't the only one in Bristol who feels this way. Ada Avalos says schools should screen people who have to interact with children before they hire them.
It's a shame and it's a shocking thing to find out that that was happening in the schools, and I hope it doesn't happen again. I feel bad for that. You know, it's scary to send children out to school. You don't know how your children are protected. They need more safety protection.
Bristol police say their investigation started when they received a tip last year. Officers determined that Sinek had videos depicting minors involved in sexually explicit conduct. Police notified school leaders about the case after Sinek was arrested. The school district told parents Sinek was immediately relieved of all duties. The acting superintendent wrote a letter to parents that reads in part, "Clearly, an allegation of this magnitude is incredibly disturbing and causes concerns about the safety of the children in our school community. Bristol community members should be reassured that the safety of children is the district's foremost concern. The Bristol Board of Education has adopted robust policies and procedures to promote the safety and well-being of all our children." Williams says he doesn't know if anything like this happened in our community before, but is aware of it happening in other communities. He says something needs to be done.
I think we have to do better as a community, as a species, as the human race, to really vet who is most appropriate to help in raising our children and raising our future.
Sinek is held on a $200,000 bond. He is charged with possession of child sexual abuse material in the first degree. In Bristol, Kayla Cade, Fox 61.
All right, Kayla, thanks for that update. Two teenage boys are accused of trying to steal a car from a school parking lot over in Berlin. It happened around 9 this morning at Hubbard Elementary School. Security called police and told them what the teens looked like. Police found the 13-year-old and 15-year-old right near Savage Hill Road in Berlin. They say the teens are not from the area. Both are facing charges, including criminal mischief.
Well, a Bristol woman faces charges in connection to a crash that killed 2 people. Police say last June, 25-year-old Carly Patterson ran a red light on Pine Street, and they say she hit and killed Faye Clarity and Nicholas Creco. Both were crossing the street at the time. Police say Patterson stayed at the scene. She was arraigned yesterday on 2 charges and will be back in court next month.
A Hartford-based community group is searching for answers tonight about funding for a beautification project at Spring Grove Cemetery. Pastor Floyd Johnson at the Voices for the Community Group describes the cemetery on Main Street as a disaster. Our Fox 61 crew visited the cemetery and spotted overgrown grass, trash, downed trees, tombstones knocked over, and much more. Pastor Johnson says eyesores like this have gone unchecked for far too long. That's why the group worked to obtain funding to change the scenery around the area. He says the State Bond Commission approved $150,000 for the project, and this happened around a month ago, but the money has been placed on hold.
We're trying to find out why we can't start this project and what's holding us up from starting this project. What we see is not beautification. What we see is nonsense that's been in the cemetery for decades. The gate is open all types of night. There's no one managing this place, and we want to clean this place up because people's loved ones are here.
Pastor Johnson says he's reached out to the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development over there, also State Representative Miriam Khan and City of Hartford about the funding issues, but he has not received a response about why the money has been put on hold.